claim of absolute immunity from prosecution. I want to bring in Barbara McQuaid, former U.S. attorney, now law professor at University of Michigan and MSNBC legal analyst. Barbara is also author of the book Attack from Within: How Disinformation is Sabotaging America. So welcome to you, Barbara. It's always good to talk with you. As we look ahead to tomorrow, to what extent do you expect political polarization to reflect in the ruling from the justices?
Well, you know, it seems that there are kind of three outcomes that we could see here. One is that Trump is completely immune from prosecution and the case must be dismissed immediately. The other possibility is that Trump's not immune from anything and the case may continue immediately. I think what we're more likely to see is something in the middle. And that's based on the oral arguments that we heard. It seemed that some of the justices were ready to say that there's no immunity here, let's proceed and get going on with the case. But it seemed that others, like Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and Alito, were interested in some kind of extreme hypothetical situations. And so what they really want to do is figure out where to draw the line. As Justice Gorsuch said during oral argument, we're deciding for the ages. And so I think the biggest issue is, where do they draw that political line? I think the worst outcome that we should expect is not a complete dismissal of the case, but a line-drawing exercise that requires the case to be remanded back to the court for more fact-finding.
So the court has come under scrutiny for the time that it is taking to deliver this ruling. You've got some analysts comparing this to the case that kept Trump on the ballot in Colorado. I mean, look at the speed with which that one was done. Is it fair to say the court has already helped Trump politically, even if inadvertently?
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know whether it's deliberate. Certainly, we, I think, could have expected more urgency in this decision. They seem to act with kind of all due caution in being careful and thoughtful. But, you know, when they want to move quickly, they can. We know that in the Watergate case involving the Nixon tapes, the court heard the case in oral argument and issued its decision 16 days later. We've been waiting now more than 2 months for this decision. So I think that whether it was intentional or not, it has assisted Donald Trump in delaying this case, because even if the court decides tomorrow that there's nothing in the Jack Smith indictment that is immune from prosecution, that means we go back to court. And the trial judge there said when she hit the pause button so that this appeal could be pursued, she would pick up where the case left off, which meant that Donald Trump's defense team would get another 3 months to prepare for trial. So tomorrow's July 1st. 3 months from tomorrow is not until October 1st. So even if everything goes as quickly as possible, I don't see how this case gets tried to a verdict before Election Day.
So which way are you expecting the Supreme Court to rule tomorrow? And if there is some sort of a split, who then gets to decide which of Trump's actions on January 6th can be subject to criminal prosecution?
Well, that's the line drawing that I think we're going to see. So I don't think it's going to be either everything's immune or nothing's immune. I think they will engage in some line drawing, and I'm not sure what that will be. It could be, you know, one argument is anything that Donald Trump did in his capacity as president is immune, and that which he did in his capacity as a candidate is not immune. So if, for example, that's where they decide to draw the line, I think what they'd have to do is have a hearing to go through all of the allegations in the indictment and decide, was Donald Trump acting in his capacity as president when he did this or as candidate? I think much of it is, no question, as candidate. To me, in my mind, the one area of question is his directives to the Justice Department, which, although they may have been abuse of his power, may arguably have been within his power. But, of course, then Jack Smith does have one more card to play, which is to dismiss any allegations that are arguably within the scope of presidential power and proceed with what's left, which would be the bulk of the indictment. And so I think ultimately this case is going to go to trial and the allegations are going to stay. The indictment's going to be there. The question is, when is that case going to happen? When will it be able to go to trial?
And I was going to ask you the when, but you didn't suggest when it will happen because you don't have a crystal ball. So let's play a bit from the debate Thursday when President Biden brought up Trump's 34 felony count conviction. Let's watch that.
How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star.
Okay, stop right there. I'm curious how you interpret Trump's denial over this issue once again. Is this still in dispute? Because didn't we have testimony in New York City by people who, under oath, for risk of perjury if they lied, tell their stories? And didn't we have a jury of the former president's peers find him guilty of behavior that resulted in 34 felony convictions because of this being at the root of his actions? I mean, why does he keep denying this?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because he has to. Maybe because it's all supporters need to hear is what he has to say and not that. Now, of course, that was not the heart of the issue that the jury decided. But as you point out, it was certainly the narrative that was told. It was certainly what was said under oath. And it was not refuted by any other witness at the trial. But I don't know why he continues to do it. Perhaps he's more concerned about politics. Perhaps he knows that as long as he says it, his supporters will believe what he says because they believe in him.
Also happening tomorrow, you have Trump ally Steve Bannon reporting to prison for defying a 1-6 committee subpoena, basically for refusing to testify about the phone calls that he had with Trump leading up to January 6th. He is planning some sort of an event near the prison before he goes in. What role, Barbara, will you say disinformation continues to play 3 years now after January 6th, 3.5?
Oh, it's a tremendous amount. In fact, it's interesting, Alex, there are more people today who believe that the election was stolen than did on January 6th. And that is because of this constant drumbeat by people like Steve Bannon on his War Room podcast, like Donald Trump, like people who go to the rallies. And the repetition is what has caused people to believe it to be true. And so it is a significant factor. And, you know, it's damaging in so many ways, not simply to suggest that Donald Trump actually won an election, but to undermine public confidence in elections themselves, because that is a real threat to the future of our democracy. So I imagine we'll hear more of the same from Steve Bannon, but then he's going to be locked up for 4 months where he will be unable to do his War Room podcast, and perhaps that will be the greatest service to democracy that we see from this prosecution.
Okay, Barbara McQuade, always a great service to us, giving your opinions and thoughts. Thank you.